Hey guys, welcome to the Fox and Burger podcast, where we bring you closer to the Asian side of the furry fandom, one episode at a time. I'm your co-host Fox.
And I'm Burger.
And for today, we're going to a country that we've never been before. Drumroll please, It's Malaysia. Accompanying us on this journey is Malaysian Fur Jhelisa from Jhelistic Hybrids. She's been a furry since 2010 and started fursuit making in 2015. We're excited to be heading to Malaysia with the one and only Jhelisa, so let's give her a big awoo.
Awooga! Hi.
Wow, man, it's so awesome having you on the show. I've not heard your voice in like a month.
I know, right? I am now here.
Yeah, and this is the first time I've actually talked with Jhelisa, I believe. And so far, seems like a pretty cool person to talk to.
Yeah,
you too, it's really nice meeting you.
Yeah, I think that I would say that it's really awesome to have you as a guest in particular because, like, one, we can talk more about Malaysia, and two, we can talk more about fursuit making because I don't think for the past few guests we've really talked about fursuit makers. We had Daza on the show, but I don't know if we had anyone else that's a fursuit maker. So it's nice to have another maker on the show to kind of give us like another perspective about fursuit making. So let's kind of just jump straight into it for our introduction. Could you briefly tell us about your fursona and how you joined the fandom?
Well, okay, my fursona is basically, it's not like a separate character. It's like, fursona, it's like how I view myself if I were to be a furry character, an anthro character. My fursona is a spotted hyena and Chinese dragon hybrid. I've been changing the character actually for like a long time now, ever since like 2009 maybe. Ever since when I was a little kid, I just love animals and like mythical creatures especially for a long time until back in 2009 or 2010, I found out about furries. I found out about the furry fandom, and I finally have like that how do you say, title? I'm not sure, to like refer to myself like to be part of this fandom,
Sure.
So yeah, that's how I basically joined it. I only started interacting with the fandom back in 2014, I think.
And that kind of just quick question, like, did you attend the very first FURUM?
The very first one, no, actually.
Gotcha,
I didn't get to attend it, yes. But I did attend the second one, and then from there, I've been attending every single FURUM. So the first one I've ever attended was the 2016 one. I didn't get to attend the 2015 one.
Yeah, I was just curious because I went there in 2018. I had a lot of fun. I haven't met you yet at that point. It's funny because I met a lot of people through VR chat and Discord actually because of the pandemic. So it was really unfortunate that I couldn't get to meet all these people like IRL. But I guess we're here now, and so that counts for something. So let's just go ahead and jump straight into our guest spotlight then. So about fursuit making, you mentioned that actually you started fursuit making in 2015. But what exactly got you started though? Like, what was the spark?
Well, I've been how do I say this? I've loved doing arts and crafts stuff ever since when I was a kid. It's my hobby. So when I found out about the furry fandom and I found out about fursuits being like a really big thing, because the furry fandom basically is built out of art. If there's no art, there's no furry fandom. I can tell you that legit. So especially when I saw the fursuits, it's really cool to me. I've loved costumes ever since when I was little as well. So having like an animal costume, it's like I love thing A and I love thing B. You combine them together, I would love it even more. It's like a good combo. So I had the spark when I started making something small. I actually started making like when I was a little kid. I actually was like back in 2014. I was into like certain games and they had like anthro characters, so I made things out of cardboard actually, and then from there I found out I could maybe actually do this, and I slowly bought like more and more materials and like started to make proper fursuits, and that's how it kind of started.
Speaking about like sparks and inspirations, we've all had inspirations in our lives before. People have done things that give us like this sense of passion or like spark that interest, I guess. For me, since I'm a voice actor, it was kind of looking at people like Troy Baker or Liam O'Brien. They do a lot of like video game stuff. But for you, like, did you ever have any like fursuit makers that have inspired you? And as kind of like a follow-up question, to what extent have they influenced your style?
Oh yeah, definitely. The one of like a few of my favorites are actually they're usually more leaning towards a realistic fursuits. So definitely like Clockwork Creature and like
Mhm.
costumes, and there's way more, but I can't remember at the top of my head.
I love Clockwork Creatures. That I would
Mhm.
never be able to afford any of
Dude,
their costumes, but that is great stuff there.
I know. Like one of my earliest memories of that maker is like watching a YouTube video of this one guy who has a Clockwork Creature, a wolf fursuit. He was wearing it in front of his cat, and his cat was like freaking out because of how real it was. But yeah, no, and that's how I know about Clockwork Creature. And like there's also costumes from there. I like kind of looked more and more into it. So definitely, what influencing the style, I'm not sure because never had the proper materials to make uh like the
Hmm.
legit realistic fursuit where they use
Mhm.
resin.
Mhm.
I've never worked with resin bases before. It definitely did influence my style, but like I can never like actually properly do like a proper realistic fursuit. I feel,
Mhm.
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. Speaking of style, it seems that you may know this, but the kimono style that is more popular in Japan and Taiwan, I'm not sure if that's any popular in Malaysia. So, are there any preferences with Malaysian furs in terms of like fursuit styles? Do they prefer the tuni style, the kimono style, a fusion of which? What do you think they prefer, and what accounts for that preference?
Oh, definitely Malaysia has a lot of people who actually likes kimono. It's a very 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
It's since Malaysia is a big mixing pot. Like we have different all different cultures mixed over here. We have Asian influence, and yet at the same time we have Western influence because English is very much used over here in Malaysia. So there's a lot of times you could actually get access to and understand the Western community basically. So for in terms of like kimono being popular, it's very popular over here. But definitely it's like a 50-50. All kinds of styles is like basically popular over here. Like personally I also love kimono style, so definitely. I think that's about it. Yeah, to be honest, kimono is, yeah, very popular over here.
And you said it's popular, but it's only 50-50 with preference for kimono and the more Western tuni style suits because of the Western influence that Malaysia has. Is that right?
Yeah, there's no strong preference. You can't exactly see a very big lean, very big bias towards one style or another. It's just mixed. Everyone just
Mm-hmm.
likes like I guess any style, to be honest.
All right, good to know. So, how about in terms of animal species? What are some popular species maybe that you've been commissioned to make or that other makers have been commissioned to make in Malaysia? What are the more popular species and why do you think that is?
To be honest with this one, it's the same as in any other parts of the world, like for the fandom, in the fandom. It's usually also canines, valpines, felines. Like to be honest, it's just the same. There's nothing exactly like there's no special species from it. But yeah, no, to be honest, it's just usually canines and valpines and like cats and stuff.
I'm gonna add in like a real quick cut-in question here, to kind of I guess
Mm-hmm.
like help the audience a little bit. What kind of species have you made fursuits for, and maybe we can flash those on the screen like as you state them.
Oh, okay. I've made locally. I've made foxes. I've
Mm-hmm.
made
Mordecai.
what Mordecai is from Singapore. I'm thinking like Malaysia.
Oh, sure, sure.
If you're specifically saying from
Okay.
Malaysia, or
I would say just any fursuits really. Like if you, yeah, it doesn't have to be from Malaysian furs. Like just any fursuits you made.
oh, any fursuit self-made. Let me how to say it? Okay, there is okay, definitely wolf dogs and stuff. There's definitely tigers, there's dogs, there's foxes. Yeah, these few. From the top of my head I can think of these few, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I guess there's just something about human nature that draws us closer to these more common species, either in the West or in the East.
I think there's just a lot of stories and like fiction stuff revolving around it, and there's a lot of people exposed to these species, in terms of like in media and stuff. So I think that's why.
It's interesting that you say that in particular, because there are plenty of elephants and monkeys and other primates that appear in these stories as well, but they're not as popular as like fursuits or fursonas either.
Mythology and like old tales wise, people don't tend to, like, how do you say, look into that as much as something that they purposely look up for, like on television shows. There's like werewolf movies, and there's like how do you say, a lot of like cartoons, animations that involves like let's say dogs and stuff. Like you look at Disney and there's like Robin Hood, the foxes and stuff. So that's something you watch as a kid, and something you get like the earliest influence that I can think of. Yes.
All right.
It's not like I think maybe that's the maybe I think that's the reason. Maybe it could be a factor.
All right, that's a good explanation. We asked some users on Twitter for anything that they want to know from you. One of them is from Animagus. Is that how you pronounce it? Animagus.
Yeah.
Animagus
Animagus.
Fursuits.
Not sure.
Yeah.
Kiba, yeah.
Yeah.
They want to know, is there a species that you want to try to make that you have not already made before?
Yes! I want to make like the Chinese dragon so bad. I've never made like a proper dragon before. The only dragon I have made is Mod, which he's a shark dragon and cat hybrid. So it's like not like a fully pure like dragon species, but that's like the closest that I have made. But I really want to make a Chinese dragon one. And what else? I actually really want to make I haven't tried Sergals yet. Sergals, and there's also more birds. I really want to make a peacock. I love peacocks.
Would you
and
make
like other parrots.
I feel like a peacock would be an interesting challenge just because of how flamboyant their color scheme would be.
Yes! But man, it's gonna look so good though. The colors! Unless you go for like a monotone kind of like, or like albino peacock, then that's another thing. But hey, it's still cool because of the tail.
So for our next question, we're actually like on this topic just a little bit. I think when you mentioned about the difficulties of gathering materials, but our next question is actually, what are some of the difficulties and challenges you face as a fursuit maker in Malaysia? So like I said, you kind of touched upon this a little bit, but like, could you speak about the materials? What about finding clients, that kind of stuff?
There's actually so much. There's the materials, ranging from materials to clients and like everything else. To be honest, it's always been hard, and especially when I have no reference to go for, because I'm the how do you say? I guess one of the only fursuit makers here like that does it as like a job. So for gathering materials, all of my fur is from the US. So a lot of makers and stuff, they live in countries that has different seasons where they have, so you could source out fur fabrics locally because winter and stuff, people make winter coats and stuff. Over here,
Right.
no, it's like summer all year round, so you can never find fur. There is one store that sells fur, but it's only white and black, and the quality isn't even that good. So that's about it. So I have to order from like fur fabric sites from the US and stuff, and and buying it is like so expensive for like within the US. If you're ordering within the US, the shipping fee for like a big box of fur, the shipping fee is like probably like $20 to $40. For me to ship that box over to Malaysia, let's say the box of fur, it is worth $100. I have to pay $120 at least just to have it shipped to Malaysia. That's just the shipping fee only. And when it reaches to Malaysia, I have to pay, for some reason, a 40% tax just to get the fur delivered to me. So I had to go through customs and stuff. So
Exactly.
even though it's actually listed, if you check the tariff codes on government websites and all, it's supposed to be only taxed 10%, but for some reason they taxed it 40%. So the last time I had to pay, it was like the fur was like, do I have to convert it to US dollars? I have no idea how to do that in my brain. So let me
You say
pull up.
the ringgit amount. I'll convert.
All right, bet. Okay, so it was like 1,200 ringgit just for the fur, and to deliver
Okay.
it over here, it was with the shipping fee, everything all together. When it arrived over here, I had to pay another 500 ringgit just to get the fur out of customs, and I could get
Okay.
it delivered. So the cost and everything is definitely way much more higher.
Yeah, so 1,200 ringgit is going to be 284 USD. 500 ringgit is 118, just for our audience.
Yeah, definitely. And to source our materials locally, other stuff like we have it's not just fur. Like let's say we have like fleece and like different tools to use. And not we don't have a lot of variety here, and we do not have the best quality a lot of times. So definitely, it's like there are times I had to actually order the stuff overseas as well, even though it's a very small stuff, but when it gets shipped over here, it's very expensive.
So really, when you
So
make
yeah.
fursuits, I guess like for you in Malaysia, not only do you take into account just the fact that the cost of the fabric, but you have to take into account an extremely high tariff. In other words, the tariff cost, because you're getting taxed like 40% of the whatever the fur is.
Yeah. And for the clients, there's actually way less because when you know how expensive it is to make a fursuit, and plus you have
Right.
to put in like your time and effort to have profit and everything. So fursuits are very hard to afford, especially in Malaysia. So to
Oh
be
yeah,
honest, I don't
yeah.
have a lot of local clients. I have a name in the local community, but a lot of my clients are from overseas because, of course, for a lot of Malaysians, my prices are really high. Yeah.
Yeah, and that really speaks to like the cost of living in Malaysia, because like guys, like this is a country. We kind of spoke about this before, but kind of a message to the audience, like when we talked about Thai Tales in Thailand. These are countries that the people living in these countries, like the average citizen, does not make a lot of money, and so it's like you always have to kind of weigh that whenever you want to buy a fursuit and you don't live in a first world country. It's always like you always have to take into account like how hard it is to get a fursuit in the first place, but then also like it is going to take a lot of money because there's that shipping cost, there's like that tariff cost, and then there's also the labor. So there's a lot of things to take into account.
Everything is like super it's and definitely like let's say like looking up for tutorials and stuff, a lot of the times it's very extremely US centric, or at least Western centric. So it's like, oh, you get this stuff, the thing that is like in American term, or you get it from this American store. So it's like, what does that mean? And I have to like go through like dictionaries and like go through Google and stuff to like
Sure.
understand what it means and everything. Not just that, even like shipping things over, getting materials and stuff, it takes for like let's say within the US you order fur, and then like you can get it within like what 2 or 3 days. Within the week, I have to wait like
Sure.
3-4 weeks. Yeah. Yeah, so work is delayed, work is extra expensive and stuff. So a lot of fursuit makers, because most fursuit makers, to be honest, they are in first world countries, they do not know the struggle that we have for a fursuit
Right.
maker in a third world country. So I hope people
Yeah.
like do understand, because I did get criticism from third world audiences. They're like, oh, your work are so like expensive, you must be rich, and like, or you earn a lot of like from fursuit making. It's like,
太
no.
夸张了吧?
Yeah, it's like it kind of like insults me a bit when people refer to like me as a fursuit maker, and like they post that meme of like suspiciously wealthy furries, and I'm like, no, I'm not suspiciously wealthy, it's just everything's expensive.
Yeah, and I'm actually really impressed though, like despite all these challenges like that you're stating and that we've been talking about, that you still continue to do it, and it's basically your full-time job. And I'm not going to reveal your age, but it's just like Jhelisa is a very young person, so I'm always like, I always admire the work that you do and how hard you work. I think in some cases it kind of inspires me to work a little bit harder though. And I did want to add real quickly though, just so that the people get credited. Rating asked, the shipping question basically was Rating's question. And then Nori also asked you a question about the difficulties and challenges. So hopefully they'll feel happy that they got their questions answered.
Yeah, I hope that's a sufficient answer. Yeah.
I think it's a pretty sufficient answer myself. But let's talk a little bit more about perhaps where you see yourself in, let's say, the next 5 years. Where do you see yourself in the future? Is there anything that you want to do with your studio? For example, maybe you would want to do more collaborations, or you want to design a new kind of suit.
Definitely, I do want to try to make full suits. I can never try doing it currently because it's just extremely expensive, even just to like try to do it. And definitely expand my studio if I can, because currently my quote-unquote studio is just half a room. It's just a table and the floor. And definitely get better tools and stuff so I could work faster,
Right.
work better, and a more efficient and a better workspace, definitely.
Have you ever thought about I'm asking this because I know Beast Fantasia, if I think the name will ring a bell for you. I know Beast Fantasia does this, but have you ever thought about 3D printing and using that to help with like heads, for example, or like pieces and stuff like that?
Yes, I did think about it, but how do you say? I want to keep each individual hit. So if even though I really like the idea of 3D printing, but I don't know if I have to find how do you say, someone to print the sculpts in a really, at least like a really good material. So I haven't did enough research on that one yet. So I cannot say much about it. But at the same time, I also want to keep everything unique. So like for my heads, each individual heads are like sculpted with foam, and like using scissors, I sculpt everything from scratch. So
Gotcha.
so yeah.
Okay, so as a follow-up, would you ever want to expand your presence in something like VR chat? Because you don't just do fursuit, you also do like digital art as well, right?
Yes, I do. I do want to see. Well, VR chat isn't my main audience. That's the thing. I would do it on the side. I usually, what I do is I make models, and like for animators, they want to, like, if they want to use my model, or they want to like commission me for a model. That's what I usually do. I focus more on animation on game models instead of just like making it just specifically for VR chat. Like I would expand, just like not specifically on VR chat.
So to kind of wrap up on this section here about fursuit making, I know we talked about like the difficulties of being a fursuit maker in Malaysia. Again, you're doing such a good job, so jiao. Our final question on this section, yeah, our final question for this section is: what's the best piece of advice that you can give an aspiring fursuit maker?
Definitely never give up. I have been working on fursuits for actually almost 7 years now.
Wow.
7? Yeah, almost 7 years now. And it's been a long journey because I have to like go through so many stuff that I listed earlier. I didn't have like proper materials, proper tools, but the more you do it slowly, you'll get your footing, you'll get your chance to like improve and everything. And every day, like each new suit I make, I still learn new things from it. So definitely never give up and never stop learning. Yeah, that's the advice I would give.
Awesome. Yeah, great advice. I think that we'll all probably be curious to see what kind of future fursuits you do. Honestly, like what you said was extremely enlightening about the sort of like fursuit making process in Malaysia. And so thank you so much for giving your thoughts and opinions about that. I think we're ready to move on to our next section, our section about comparing contrasting fandoms. And what we want to do here is ask about how furry is perceived in Malaysia. So we'll ask some questions about that. So let's just kind of get straight into it. In general, though, how does the general population in Malaysia perceive furries? Do they think it's part of anime? Do they think it's like cosplaying, or what can you tell us about that?
Most of them, because furries aren't well known in Malaysia, unless like maybe if you use English to communicate more, like more English educated, then you might heard of furries and you might know about the stigma of furries, but most of the time it's very neutral. They'll think it's like, oh, part of anime, part of cosplay, legit. Till to this day, I have like family members asking me, oh, you do all these cosplay stuff, right? And it's like, and I'm like, question mark, kinda? Because the most I could say is like, I make mascots and that's about it. I can't exactly say it's like directly related to cosplay, but I guess in a way it's also related to cosplay because, to be honest, the anime culture and the furry culture, it's very similar. So yeah.
All right, so let's talk a little bit more about actual fursuits in Malaysia. How easy is it to go out and just walk around in a fursuit in Malaysia in real life?
Hard physically.
I know, right? Summer for 4 seasons, right?
That's the only season we have, unless you're talking about like what durian season, rambutan season. That doesn't count. But
I get it.
Yeah, no, but over here, to give you a reference, at least to minimum, our usually on average our temperature is around like at least 33 degrees Celsius. So it's like, plus the humidity at least it's like what, 75%.
Ooh.
So imagine wearing a fursuit under the sun in Malaysian weather. In Malaysian weather, legit, that's like the worst case scenario for fursuiter. You might get a heat stroke and stuff. So like,
yeah,
it's very hard unless you go into like indoors and stuff like malls and hotels and stuff where FURUM is in. Thank God.
Well, speaking of malls and hotels and stuff, how do local authorities feel about that sort of costume? Do you need a permit or permission to go around and fursuit inside of a private property or public property?
Oh yeah. Okay, actually they did have, I do not know enough about it, but I know that for like, let's say for like in malls and like hotels and stuff, for like private properties, you definitely need permission for it. But for on the streets, I don't think you need to. Unless you're like a big group, maybe you need it. But if it's like just like a few people, I think you could just walk around on the streets just fine. But to be honest, who would fursuit on the streets? Unless it's nighttime. Over here, at least. Over here. But there's nothing too strict about it, I don't think. You just have to check for permissions, ask for permissions and stuff.
Mm-hmm. And do you have at least one interesting or memorable story about fursuiting in Malaysia, maybe at FURUM?
Fursuiting experience, definitely one. The most memorable ones are actually, because I only get to fursuit in FURUM, and the most memorable part of FURUM for me, it's the fursuit walk. Sadly, they didn't have it on 2019, but I think it was on 2018. 2018, no.
We went to the mall in 2018, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think 2017 as well. Yes. So I was fursuiting yet and at the same time cosplaying as an Overwatch character. So
no,
like,
you did an Overwatch character in 2018? You did Ana?
Both 2017 and 18. No.
What?
Okay, so for 17 it was like Ana.
All right.
No, 2016 as well. Yeah. And then
I saw your Ana cosplay.
No,
that's pretty boss, man. I never saw your cosplay in person, but your Ana cosplay looks great.
Thank you. I tried my best, but like I was wearing my fursuit with the Ana cosplay, and one was Sombra. But I'm mainly talking about Ana because I had a bucket of. It's a thing she does for her Halloween emote. She has like a bucket of candy and like she throws it at people. So on the fursuit walk, I was just passing a bucket of candy to like a bunch of kids. And there was like an auntie actually dragging me away from the escalator, be like, I want candy. I'm like, okay, auntie. and like a meme that became kind of viral in the Southeast Asian furry community where I just like jumped in front of a Chili's and I was like, hi, welcome to Chili's. That became a meme.
Oh, that.
So yeah, people do.
In the mall, right?
Yeah. It was back in 2017.
I remember we broke the elevator in 2018. No, escalator. We broke the escalator in 2018. Yeah, you weren't there. Yeah, dude, did you know that? Anyway, that's probably another story for another time. But yeah, the 2018 one. I mean, that was pretty cool. Like that was the first time No, I would say that's the second time I was in a quote unquote fursuit parade. The first time was in JMOF, I think. But anyway,
Yo, Pog.
yeah,
Good,
good. Yeah, shout out
good
to
stuff.
FURUM, man. Wish. Hopefully I can come back, and hopefully there will be a better place by then.
Come back, yes.
To get back on track, when you go out fursuiting, there's bound to be people who ask what you're doing. And there's also people who might be curious about your job. So, given all that, how do you go about explaining what furry or fursuit is to people outside of the fandom? And you may have talked about this a little bit already with explaining if your family asking about the whole cosplay business.
Well, usually for the explanation, I would just say that it's like a bunch of people who likes anthro animal art, like creature art. It's basically what it is. We are here to celebrate anthropomorphic art, legit, all types of art. We have like dancing, drawing, we have like costumes and stuff. So, to be honest, just that could like explain a lot of things. But for my job, I just say that just to make things simple, I would just say that like I make costumes. I make like specifically mascot costumes just for them to understand. Because if I were to say I were to make costumes, a lot of people would think it's like like something like cosplay, like really fancy, like armor and stuff. Like no, I can't do that. I make people into animals. That's literally my job. I make people poof animal. Yeah, I would just usually just say that. Usually mascot makes non-furry people understand easier, I feel, rather than going through all the hassle of explaining what a furry is.
So how did your like family, like I don't know, like your mother or father, like how did you like have to explain it to your family? Because like I said, it's your full-time job, so you probably had to at one point tell them like, look, mom and dad or whoever you're speaking to, like, look, this is my job, like I make costumes, blah blah blah. So like how did you go about telling them that you are a fursuit maker, and like, like what did you do to explain to them about like your industry?
Actually, I didn't had to like have like the sit down and explain to them about it, because like slowly when I started making them, and like people locally actually asked me like, they're interested in commissioning me for like a fursuit head or something, fursuit part. So like slowly from there, like I asked my mom, can I like, people paying me for the materials, can I make this? And they're like, sure, honey, let's go. And then like slowly like make more and more. So it just kind of like blends in, and then like they just understand kind of like what I'm doing, what I'm like, like me going down this, going like on this like, path direction. I didn't have to exactly explain a lot. They just kind of know, and they're very accepting of it. I'm very, very lucky.
Yeah, I would think so too. Like I think like a lot of people have trouble trying to explain, what furry is to their parents, and like, it almost feels like it's such a big thing, or you always have like this kind of like internal fear about like being accepted by your family members, because for some people furry is a lifestyle. So I'm actually really happy to hear that your family members like really supported you, honestly.
Yeah, well, for me, I didn't have to, like, how do you say it? I didn't view it as like a completely like a really big lifestyle. Like I don't fursuit
Sure.
often. I don't do a lot of like furry stuff often. I just enjoy furry things. So for me, it's easier for me to like kind of like have easier for them to accept it, because I'm not changing a lot of stuff in real life. Because ever since when I was little, they've been watching me like liking animals and drawing dragons when I was like 6 and 7 in class,
Yeah.
and they know what I like. So for me to go to this like direction, it isn't surprising for them. So yeah.
All right. Well, thanks so much for answering that question. We just have one last question for you for tonight. And that is, what is your fondest memory that you had at FURUM? And this could be at any FURUM that you've been to.
I don't have like a top favorite memory, but I have a few that's like, it's more like with friends at FURUM rather than like me fursuiting. Does that count?
Yeah, that counts.
Okay, well, one of the most recent one, which is like 2019, when I met Mod for he's a furry from the UK. I've met him for the second time at FURUM, and like for some reason he was like, he's wearing shorts because it's hot, and like for some reason I just like laughed at his knees, and that's for some reason it was like a really fond memory. And we were like in the hotel room, and everyone just started laughing with me, but like, it's like it's a really stupid thing. but I was just like saying how concave his knees was. But that's kind of like
I can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know why.
I met him a couple times. One at LAFC, and then did I meet him for him? I can't remember. Are his knees really that?
Wait,
weird?
you've met him?
Yeah, I met him at LAFC. Tell him that I met him at LAFC 2018.
Wait, legit? Damn.
Yeah. I met I know what he looks like.
Yeah, maybe he's wearing like long pants or something. But ever since that day, I
Sure.
think I made him like really self-conscious about
Concave
his
knees.
knees. Yeah, I'm so sorry, Mod.
All right.
But the other
Sorry,
one,
Mod.
the other one is like back in 2018, I think, and we were all having a pizza party in a hotel room, and for some reason I forgot who started showing me this Twitter account of like really badly drawn like characters, like popular like fictional characters with like really small heads and really huge shoulders, and I started laughing my ass off. And I was on the floor. I didn't drink any alcohol. I've never gotten drunk before. I was like laughing nonstop for like 10 minutes while everyone was trying to pull me up. But that's about it.
Sure.
It's like, did she drink? No, I've never drank. I've never gotten drunk before, but that made me laugh my ass off. I don't know why. Big shoulders, tiny heads.
If you could ever find that Twitter account again, then I'd love to see that too. That sounds like a great concept.
I know. No. I'll have to ask around for it. I remember someone sending me more photos of it afterwards. I'll have to look it up. I'll definitely send it to you afterwards if I do find it.
I appreciate it. Actually, that's almost about it for this podcast. So, we only have a couple more things. Firstly, can you give us some of your social media handles? Like, how do you want people to find you on the internet?
Well, you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So just search up Jhelistic Hybrids for both Instagram and Facebook. But for Twitter, it's Jhelistic Hybrid because there's not enough. There's too many letters, so I can't put in the S there. But yes, on Facebook and Instagram, it's Jhelistic Hybrids, and for Twitter, it's Jhelistic Hybrid.
I just find it hilarious how you turn your name into an adjective. Like, that is so holistic. I'm gonna start that now. That hashtag, that is so holistic. If it's
I
like
don't
that's so
even know
holistic,
what
that's
it
so holistic.
means. I just like I when I made the name, I was like, oh my god, it sounds cool. Yeah, let's make it into a name. It's like now it is. I have no idea what it means though. It just sounds cool.
I mean, it sounds like a combination of hell and holistic.
Hell is
Holistic
holistic.
hell. Holistic. Holy.
All right. Well, that will do it. Thanks once again for being a part of this podcast. We learned quite a bit from you. We learned about how expensive it can be to be a full-time fursuit maker as an occupation. We learned about the different styles that furries in Malaysia prefer and how it's more or less a 50-50 split. And we also learned about how you probably don't want to get caught outside in fursuit in the middle of summer, spring, or fall in Malaysia.
Like that exists. Wow.
Yeah, really.
But thanks for having me.
Yeah, and thank you too for accepting our offer. This has been the Fox and Burger podcast with Burger.
And I'm the Matcha Fox.
And we will see you in the next episode. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye bye.